in the lead up to the Second World War, various German strategists that were emphasizing the role of mechanized units with heavy armor being used as an arrow to break through the enemy lines in one point, and then trying to advance as far behind those enemy lines as possible, and using this breach in the defensive line to spread out behind the enemy and trying to encircle them and take as many enemy soldiers captured in these pockets that would be created. I'm here thinking about the blitzkrieg concept that
Indeed,
was
yes.
used very efficiently in the first stage of the Second World War. So there are those that say that Ukraine today, after having received all of this armor and also various special engineering vehicles that you need for that first phase of the offensive, you have these engineering vehicles with various hooks and cranes that can lift obstacles away, such as these dragon teeth defensive lines that the Russians have been using. There are other special tanks that are used to demine these stretches that have been mined, if in case there are some large anti-tank rows or other obstacles that have been dug. Then there are these tanks that have basically a movable bridge on top of them that they can unfold, and then other tanks can be used to cross those obstacles. So the Ukrainians have received quite a lot of it, and it's possible that they will be able to breach the enemy lines somewhere. And as in any other war, if we look at for parallels in history, you have to always confuse your enemy and make him unsure of where you will strike, so that he has to stretch out his defensive lines and move various troops around. During the Second World War, for example, ahead of Operation Overlord and D-Day, there was an entire phony army that was created with these inflatable tanks and other weapon systems that were being moved from site to site, and in the end they were moved right to more or less the opposite side of Calais, so the narrowest point in the English Channel, and thus the Germans did believe that the most likely landing position for the Allies would be there. Instead, they landed quite many kilometers further east and managed to capture the Germans by surprise. So this is another element that we see in today's war that takes place in any war. But if we look at these revolutions in military affairs, there have been many. If we look, for example, during the medieval era, we had initially the emergence of heavy cavalry, the time of the knights, that came to an abrupt end when the longbow at Agincourt in 1415 turned.
Yes, the longbow, of course, was of its time a remarkable weapon.
The drone of its time, you could say.
Well, I said, because the thing about drones is you're not immediately, the person doing the firing is not immediately involved in the same.
Yes.
But yes, it was remarkable that this. And of course, the French invented something more complicated, the crossbow, which was just not as good and took longer to reload. And the rate of fire that you could get with a properly trained corps of longbowmen was actually quite extraordinary.
And both of these inventions, the longbow, the crossbow, were quickly followed by gunpowder weapons, a technology that was adapted from China and quickly revolutionized warfare. Even though if initially these weapons were still, it took a long time to load and reload, and they weren't very accurate. Sometimes they weren't even able to penetrate the armor of a knight. Sometimes a longbow would be more efficient in penetrating that armor. So it wasn't immediate, but after a while they were efficient enough to simply start dominating the battlefield.
Adam, alas, the clock in the corner of the studio is calling time on our discussion, so if we may, we'll pick it up next time. There we are. I've had to. interrupt Adam almost in mid-sentence, but fear not, if you join us next time on Poland Daily History, as we hope you will, we'll pick up the story. In the meantime, thank you for watching.